Like when you get most tests, they're not functional, they're sedentary. So basically this tests how well your body can deliver oxygen to your tissues. So the higher VO2 you have, the higher ability your body has to deliver nutrients to its tissues.
Dr. Jan Kasprowicz is a chiropractic physician, sports recovery specialist, nutrition coach, and the founder of New Jersey Chiropractic and Sports Recovery. He specializes in improving mobility, accelerating recovery, and helping people perform at a higher level. Today, we're diving into one of the hottest topics in health and fitness, VO2 max testing. Welcome to the New You Game Plan, your blueprint for health and fitness transformation. I'm your host, Kirk Charles. Recently, I took a VO2 max test with Dr. Jan, and it completely blew my mind regarding training, endurance, recovery, and healthy aging. What I discovered opened my eyes to new possibilities for improving both performance and longevity. And here's the beauty of it. This isn't just for elite athletes. VO2 max testing can benefit anyone of any age looking to improve their health, fitness, energy, and quality of life. So let's jump in and pick Dr. Jan's brain. Welcome, Dr. Jan. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Kirk?
I'm doing very well. Dr. Jan, tell us, what types of clients and athletes do you work with?
I have two different populations of clients. I literally just got off the phone with a gentleman. His name is Will. Will's 58 years old. He's just retired, and basically he's looking to increase his health span. So he's actually started working with a fitness coach, and he wants to actually include some more precision in his training. So instead of just doing some exercises and basically getting on the bike or the treadmill, he wants to basically focus on increasing his VO2 max, but also increasing his metabolic health, which is pretty much his ability to burn fat for fuel. So if he could bring up his VO2 to a excellent level and also increase his ability to burn fat for fuel, he's going to pretty much prolong his health span because he's not going to be predisposed to getting chronic diseases. The other
Now,
part, go ahead.
I'm sorry, is VO2 max a part of your metabolic health, or are they just totally distinct?
Well, yes, the VO2 max is it's a test of your cardiopulmonary system. It's a functional test. Like when you get most tests, they're not functional, they're sedentary. So basically, this tests how well your body can deliver oxygen to your tissues. So the higher VO2 you have, the higher ability your body has to deliver nutrients to its tissues. Even if everything else is unhealthy, you're a smoker, you're overweight, if you have a high VO2 compared to somebody who looks the same way as you do with the same lifestyle, has a lower VO2, the person with the higher VO2 is going to have a less cause of mortality from chronic diseases and even accidents too, because their body can deliver more oxygen and nutrients to their tissues. So you definitely want a high VO2. The second thing also is a lot of muscle mass. And the second population of people I work with are athletes. So a lot of athletes, for example, I have a lot of athletes come in and they have really big VO2s. They have big engines. And that's what a VO2 tells us, how big your engine is. But in many cases, their fuel tank is really small. So I try to explain to them, like, you want to think of a pyramid. A high VO2 is a high peak pyramid. You want a wide base. That's your fuel tank. Because if you have a big engine but a very small fuel tank, you only have enough fuel for about 20 minutes, then you got to refuel. But if you have a big fuel tank, which is your ability to burn fat for fuel, you kind of have an endless fuel source as well. So the lay population that's trying to increase their health span and prevent chronic disease, and athletes who are trying to get an edge by precision training.
Question for you. You're saying you want to have a big fuel tank where you're burning more fat.
Yep.
So what is the optimal body fat percentage that you should have?
It's not necessarily body fat percentage, although that's important as well, because the thing is, body fat percentage is important because if you have too much body fat, the place that you store body fat is under your skin. Once that depot of body fat storage is taken up fully, then the body starts laying down fat in between the muscle fibers, which is not good. Then if that gets filled up, then you start getting fat around your organs. It's called visceral fat. And that's where there's things called inflammatory cytokines exist, and you get chronic diseases and cancers from that kind of fat. But that's different than utilizing fat for fuel. By being able to burn fat for fuel, that's the ability to, like, I have some athletes that are sprinters, and they're like, why do I need to do zone 2 or this low heart rate stuff? Well, if you can't burn fat while you're walking and you're only burning sugar, then you're burning your fuel source for your event. So through like daily activities, like me and you just standing here or sitting here and talking, we should burn no sugar. But there's a huge population of people that basically they're burning sugar all day because their main fuel source is sugar and carbohydrates, and they have no ability to burn fat for fuel. And when they do exercise, they get tired quick and they crave sugar as well. So it's all about slowing your heart rate down, doing things at a lower heart rate, doing walking, doing rucking. Low heart rate activity will stimulate that fat burning engine, which will allow you to go ahead and burn fat without having sugar in its place.
Would you say that there's a percentage, or do you know what the percentage of people or athletes who are burning predominantly sugar for fuel instead of fat?
Well, last year I've probably done about maybe 200 VO2s. I'd say at least 60% of those people were basically had an inability to burn fat on its own. So they had the ability to burn fat, but they were also burning a little bit of sugar. That's important because every time you burn sugar, you're burning fat, you're burning sugar, which creates inflammation. When we did your VO2, if you don't mind me sharing, you're a fat burning
Sure.
machine. So basically, you are burning fat almost the entire time. In fact, the gentleman who beat the marathon record, he did the whole thing in zone two, burning fat the whole time. So by doing this, he created no inflammation, he had no pain, and he finished the marathon with a smile on his face. Compared to people who are basically getting through their daily activity struggling because they're burning the wrong fuel source. So if you're burning sugar all day, you need to refuel all day, and that creates inflammation. So if you have a knee issue or a shoulder issue, which could be a small little pain, but if you're burning sugar all day, that 2 out of 10 could be a 6 or 7 out of 10 just by burning the wrong fuel source.
Now, how does your body adapt to burning sugar versus fat? And is this something that, as a child, when we're born, I assume that we're drinking mother's milk or any other
Yep.
type of milk and we're getting sugar into our bodies. But is there some time frame or maybe going through puberty where you start to burn more fat than sugar, or how does it work regarding your
Well,
age?
that's an excellent point, Kirk. Because when we're drinking mother's milk, that's just protein and fat. There's no carbohydrates in there. So basically, we are fat burning machines as infants. And the other thing too, we have fantastic cores because we're falling, we're stumbling, we're learning how to walk, really activating our core. But then we become sedentary. And when we become sedentary, we stop burning fuel. And basically, the other thing too, especially in these Western cultures, it's a race to see which child can eat Cheerios first. And then we start cramming these refined carbohydrates into their mouth. So the beautiful thing is we all have the ability to burn fat, but the thing is, because of our Western culture, we become sedentary, we're not moving as much. And then what we do, we play some pickup basketball, or we do some like high intensity activity that we're trying to burn calories and we're trying to burn calories, lose weight, but that's the inefficient way to do it. So the best way to do it is to basically you get a VO2 test done, which is going to tell you precisely if you're a fat burning machine or if you're burning a lot of sugar, and it tells you exactly at what heart rate that you're supposed to be burning fat in. For example, world's greatest cyclist, his name is Tadej Pogacar. His heart rate, zone two, which is the fat burning heart rate, is 145 on a good day. So I have these cyclists that come in who have been local guys. They're pretty good. I asked them, like, what's your zone two? And they're like, 140. I'm like, oh, so you and Tadej Pogacar have almost the same zone two. And then when we do the VO2 test, we actually see their zone two is really like 110 to 120, which means is they're training too hard. So if they want to burn more fat, and this is also for the lay population too, if you want to burn more fat, get rid of that fat tissue, it's not about doing high intensity training, which has its place. But if you really want to stimulate fat burning, you should first try to develop a fat burning engine and then also include some high intensity interval training because that also has a tendency to increase your metabolic rate, but it burns fat later in the day. And the other issue with that too is high intensity interval training is poorly defined. When you do high intensity interval training, you should be exhausted to the point where you can't talk and you're literally on the floor, not doing some exercise and then talking to your partner next to you. That's not high intensity interval training. High intensity interval training is 6 minutes of all you can do as hard as you can actually do it.
Regarding the high intensity interval training, let's say I'm just the average person. I work 40 hours a week. I'm married. I have a couple of kids, and I can only get to the gym maybe 4 times a week for an hour.
Mhm.
Do you have a certain ratio of types of exercises that you should focus on during those 4 hours?
Well, yeah, the beautiful thing is if you're getting into the gym, so what I recommend if you're doing like weightlifting or you're doing like non-high intensity interval stuff, I recommend people get into the gym 10 minutes early. Get on a treadmill for 5 minutes, get on a bike for 5 minutes, and you're going to be in zone 2, fat burning. Then what you're going to do if your workout is a half hour, when you're working out with weights, your heart rate is still low. So you're still burning fat. So you come in with a warm up for 10 minutes burning fat, half hour burning fat with your weightlifting workout, and then a cool down for 5 to 10 minutes too. That's all fat burning. But the beautiful thing is you have to get some high interval training as well, high intensity interval training. And you could do Tabata sets, which are basically fantastic to do. So what you would do is very simply, I recommend people doing on something controlled, like a bicycle, because this way it gives you stability. You could do 10 seconds as hard as you can actually ride, and then 10 seconds do no activity. 10 seconds as hard as you can ride, then no activity. You do that about 8 to 10 repetitions. That will significantly increase your metabolism, but it's also going to increase your VO2. Now, I know also some people, I'm 52 years old. So my goal is not to get injured. So I would do my Tabatas or high intensity interval training on something where I could prevent injuries. I know some people doing sprints up a hill, which is fantastic, but I'm 52 years old. I'm not as agile as I was when I was 18 and more athletic. So going doing hill sprints will also work. You could run up a hill, then you walk down a hill, run up a hill, walk down a hill. But at the same time, you put yourself in a position to potentially get injured as well. So it's about cost and benefit. You want to make sure that you're going to get a good amount of benefit from it without getting the cost of getting injured.
Just so we're clear, you said zone 2 a lot. How many zones are there, and what's the definition of those zones?
Well, there's many different zones. It matters which company you're working with, what kind of exercise physiologist you're working with. I work with a company called Core, so they have 5 zones. I don't necessarily use their zones because I like to go into all the data and see exactly how your body, your physiology is working. So the zones that I give my clients are basically specific to all the data, which is a tremendous amount of information from the VO2. But there are some interpretations of having 4 zones. So zone 1 would be like your recovery, just going for a very easy paced walk, easy walk. Zone 2 is your fat burning zone. People say it's usually a conversational pace, but some people, when they do zone 2, it's a little bit more intense. Then zone 3 is where you're burning fat, but you're starting to burn some sugar, which also creates inflammation. Zone 4 is where you're burning a little bit more sugar than you were before, just a little bit of fat. And then zone 5 is known as your VO2 max zone, where you're purely just burning sugar for fuel. And once you get to that zone, you may have about 30 seconds of fuel before you're finished. So you want to work all the zones. So your high intensity interval training is that zone, that 5th zone. But I also know some exercise physiologists that have 8 zones. They do zone 1, then they do zone 2, zone 2A, zone 2B, zone 3, zone 3A, zone 3B, zone 4, zone 4A, zone 4B, and then zone 5. So it matters what kind of your athlete you're working with and how precise they're looking in their zones.
Regarding the zones where you're burning sugar or fat, is there a particular diet that's best or that hurts your ability to burn fat
Sure.
as far as this VO2 max test is concerned?
Ideally, you want any kind of refined carbohydrates. This is a great question. Because I had last week, I had a junior Olympic swimmer come in. He's built this tremendous body of swimming. He's only 15 years old, but he swims fantastic. But the thing is, he could only swim, like he beats everybody the first 50 meters. But on the way back, he lags significantly. We did his VO2 test. I'm like, what did you eat? Do you know you're supposed to fast 2 to 3 hours before the test? He's like, I had some cake. And then he was drinking Carnation chocolate shakes. which is 27 grams of pure sugar. So he drinks 3 of those a day. So I told him, I was like, okay, let's do your VO2. Let's see what kind of data we get. The whole thing showed that he was a fat burning machine. He was a sugar burning machine. He could barely access any body fat. But the thing is, he was supposed to fast before the test. So then I'm like, let's redo the test. We did it 2 days later. I'm like, fast before the test. If you need to eat anything 3 hours before the test, I want you to eat some blueberries, some strawberries, some blackberries, berries, which are fantastic because they have a good amount of sugar, but they also have a lot of fiber. The fiber in fruits and vegetables, which are a great fuel source, will reduce your insulin response. Because if you're eating cake, your insulin goes through the roof to control that sugar. But with a high fiber food like vegetables and berries, that controls your insulin and brings your insulin down, which allows you to burn fat. Because if your insulin goes up, you can't access body fat for fuel because your body's trying to push out that sugar. But if you eat vegetables and fruits, whole foods, then what happens? Yeah, your insulin goes up, but the fiber in those foods brings that insulin down so you have access to the fat. So when he did his VO2 the second time, completely different. He was still burning fat for fuel because he's 15. He still eats junk. But at the same time, he's got this tremendous engine fat burning machine that he has. So it's a completely different outcome. And he showed that he has the ability to burn fat for fuel. So fuels that you want to eat, good whole foods. Basically, you want to stick with good whole bananas, avocados, strawberries, blackberries, basically good vegetables, organic vegetables. Eat some fats as well because that's a great fuel source as well. And understand, if you're fueling with sugar, it's easy to burn sugar. We've all had some chocolate. You eat like a Reese's peanut butter cup, and within 10 seconds, you're like, whoa, I got all this energy. And then 5 minutes later, you're like this. But to burn fat, you have to pull it out of storage because that's stored body fat. So it may take some time for your body to get used to burning fat. But once your body understands how to burn fat, you're going to get that energy from fat much quicker.
In your experience, which types of athletes have the greatest VO2 max?
I would say cyclists, because with cyclists, it's like they're on a bicycle. But the thing is, too, it's like runners and cyclists, they have huge VO2s. And from what I've seen, also rowers. I worked with a rower about 3-4 weeks ago. He had a humongous VO2. And I think just recently, with I think the biggest VO2 max recorded was by a cross-country skier, and I believe it was like in the 90s, but somebody just hit 101, which is absolutely ridiculous, and that was a cyclist. Because when you're a cyclist, you are on a bicycle, so you don't have to worry too much about stability, and therefore when you're a runner, runners have big VO2s too, but you're running. So you're working a lot of joints, you're creating a lot of discomfort, your body has to create a lot of stability, so you're not getting everything fine-tuned into actually your VO2. But when you're on a bike and you're doing your VO2, you're going to notice that your VO2 could be higher for some people with good bicycle skills. Now, if you don't know how to ride a bike, or if you don't understand how to understand that pain, the lactic acid that builds up in your legs on a bike, then I recommend people do VO2s on a treadmill, because everybody knows how to run. Everybody's run before, and we have the biomechanics and understand the neurological pathways on how to walk and run. So I've seen the largest VO2 so far on bikes because provides you stability, and you're just working muscles, breathing in, breathing out. You don't have to worry about stability. You don't have to worry about twisting an ankle or anything like that.
I'm positive you found the information from Dr. Jan can be incorporated into your workout blueprint. And there's much more. To view the full interview with Dr. Jan, go to kirkcharles.com/newgameplan or youtube.com/@kirkcharles. There's also a direct link to the full interview in the video description. And that's it for this week. Until the next time we meet, stay strong, because the new you is right there in front of you.